Alright, so this PC was hang on and the video got deleted. So starting the new video there, I didn't know that was a problem. We did in the project. Let's see whether that is there. I had to restart this. Mm, seems to be that it is there. Alright, so date of birth is not there. Okay, so our DOB will be let's write any random values. Let's write him. Let's make him older, younger. I'm writing some random values, right? These are not actually correct here. Someone is asking for something. The presentation is, oh sorry. The presentation is not loading. Thank you. And everyone is with 2020 why I would be there. So let's make everyone as 2020. Okay. Just giving a basic output. Okay. So this is all how the name would be DOB. Let me read on these things. Okay, this is the first shell I'm going to run. And this is DOB finished. So username, password, phone number, gender, F name, L name, and this date of birth coming in the sample data. So if I see my sample data keys, I'm having such value. Okay, that's good. What are stored in the username? So we have 5 users there, right? Similarly, they will be having their own passwords. That exactly. Okay, and now we'll try to make a data frame. I've given you a small idea of that, right? You can use those things. It was the data frame of this sample data. So these are the username, the passwords. Huh? So username, their passwords, their phone numbers, their gender, the F name, the L name, and the date of birth. So how many gender and how many female I am having? How many male and female we are having? How we can just that? We can just write it as, let's say, so there we have some 2 females and 3 males. Don't go with this. Okay, I was just showing you that how you can do with your data. So this is random data we are having, right? Username, passwords, phone number, gender. Now we actually need all these things when a user is going to create something in his project, right? So let's start with the things. So first of all, you will be requiring the functions, the list, the dictionaries, and all those things, right? So the very first thing is to take input of the user first name and the last name, right? So we'll try to make a function first of all that will be taking the first name and the last name. Okay, so function for taking my f name and this n name. So now let's say I'll just print f name. Now f name would be, okay, let's say first name. So first name would be given by the user, that would be entered first name, and we'll check whether this first name is empty or not. So if it is empty, if the first name is equals to an empty thing, I'll say to will break this, or I'll say to print enter first name. Okay. Mm, So you can write while this first name is going to be true, I'll be giving enter first name, right? So while this first name will be a blank one, so let's run this first. First name blank 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 working on. If it is name over there, still it is working, and we have to end it by writing something. So let's say while the statements are true. So while the statements are true, and which statement? So if first statement is found to be blank on, we'll just break, and if not, then in the else, let's say input enter last name. Now similarly you can apply this here too. So last name will be input enter last name, and if last name found to be this, will be given this, or else. And we need not to write anything else, right? That is all of this. Let's see how it runs on. Enter first name, nothing, break out. Cool. Okay. So if you don't write anything in the first name, it just broke out there. Interchange the things. Last name is not equals to true. Let's make this equals. Hmm. 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 Equals is better. You can write this. So last name will be there. While true, if the last name becomes an empty statement, I'll be printing this last statement. If it is not an empty, if it is an empty one, I'll say to call this last name or print this last name. Let's take it just a normal one to give you an idea how it works, so that you can make it there. So enter first name would be, if I user give a blank one, then it will break on, right? It will not take anything. I'm making for that. So if a user gives some data there, um, some data here. So last name, yeah, exactly. This is not defined. So let's take it like this. Done. Right. So I can just see all the things. Still processing. First name, put into value. If first name is equals to this, else. Let's take it. Last name is equals to 2. I'll just put it on there. Nice. So if the first name is a blank one, will break on. If it is not a blank, then I'll asking for the last name, and if the last name is not blank, then I'll break. Okay. If it is a blank one, then I'll be continuing with that until it becomes a blank. I'll be continuing with that. Okay. So this is coming under while true statement. So this is how you can take an first name or last name of a user. Okay, that is nice. You took the sum of the last first name and last name. Now, what you'll do, you will make another dictionary here. Every time you will make one dictionary, you will fetch this data to this old dictionary, old values. So storing is very important. Storing is some of the part you need to focus on. Okay. So first now let's say the user how he can make his data, right. So this is the first and the last name input. Now we'll try to take the username and the password. Okay. So this was coming as one, let's say this to be def a first and the last name, right. So FL name. That's good. Run this. This is our first FL name. Now every time if I run this FL name, we'll see what comes. So enter first name Sumit, enter last name Kumar. Right. If I just give an empty one, so it will break itself there. That's good. So if I run this, give last name an empty one, it's asking for the last name. Just input the last name and proceed to the next. So just input the last name and got entered. Right. So that's a good one. So this is our first name and the last name. Now let's cut this. Now we'll try to make a function for taking you can say usernames and passwords. That would be a good one. For function for taking usernames and passwords. So now you'll be taking the username and you would be saying that input enter, what is that, username. Okay, let him write at the rate Gmail or anything, right? And you give an example to him, XYZ at the rate of. Okay, so XYZ at the rate of gmail.com. Give me an example. He will write that what your work is to be split from .gmail.com. Okay, so your username will be having this data. And this will be a raw input, raw username, and what you will be storing would be the raw username zero. Alright, so you would be storing the raw usernames first one, that would be a 0. Nice. This is your username. Now see, a user gave an input. Now you will check if this raw user name found to be in the username. So if this found to be in the username, then I'll print username already exists. And that's it. Okay, username already exists. And you can ask him again to enter some things, right? You can say him to enter again if you want, or if you don't want, then let's proceed. Let's make it quit, right? So you can ask him to do for that, right? As you did in the while true and this same. So your condition is it's if this found to be this. I'm going to print username already exists and break on. So if this is found to here, and you would be doing like that. That's good. So let's see. Uh, and if it is not found there, then we'll proceed to enter password. And in the password, you will check whether this is an alphanumeric or not. So if it is not an alphanumeric, if it is not an alphanumeric, now if the password is not an alphanumeric, if the password what he entered, or if the password, let's say if the password, don't check here, let's say if his entered password is not equals to true, if it is not an alphanumeric, first condition should be how much? 8 characters. If the length of the password is greater than 8, then only we are going to consider this, right? If it is greater than 8, then we are going to check on that if the password is alphanumeric or not. So if it is an alphanumeric, and you can also check whether it is having any capital cases or not. So if it is an alphanumeric, I am just checking for the alphanumeric. If it is true, then it's okay. If it is an alphanumeric and it is it is not an alphanumeric, then we'll print enter upper cases, lower cases, and use at least one number. That's all. Don't use this while true. I don't think that this is necessary to use there, because you are making just a random project. So break is also not needed. So if the username already exists, it is saying there, and if it is not existing there, we'll ask to enter the password. If the length of the password is greater than 8, then we'll go to check whether the password is an alphanumeric, and if it is not an alphanumeric, I'll enter upper cases, lower cases, and at least use at least one number. That is right. But if it is an alphanumeric, then it's okay, right? So what the next thing you will do, if it is an alphanumeric, then you will proceed further, right? So you'll make something here as your some two of the list where you could store these values. You'll say here user as a list. You'll say here password as a list, and at last you will say user dot append the values of this raw user name, and similarly this password dot append the values of password. It'll make like that, and you will append the zero of that. Let's see if it works. So enter username. So it's still asking because it's not checking from the thing. It is taking there. But it's not taking that from there. It's this raw user. Oh. So we'll have to check the first one there. That was an issue. Let's run this. So username already exists. That's exactly correct. Okay. Password. Cool. So, oh, we didn't pass anything for less than 8. So if it is less than 8, then print use at least 8 characters. Okay, that would be there. So let's cut everything. Say this to be a username and the password. Paste it there. So it will work here. Somewhere is the issue. So function fill name done, user password done, right? So if the password is greater than 8, I'll be coming like this, right? That is the statement you are making on. So now you can see if you want to see your user. So your user is having nothing here, right? Because I haven't added anything here still, right? So this will be checking it from here. If I just pass on user pass let's see what comes. So it's saying username is already existing, so you can't. You can just log in with that. Okay, you can log in with that. So you can't create an account while using these things. So that is, I have created this username, I've created the password, I've created the not gender, I've created the first name, the last name. Now we can take the date of birth, the phone number, and the gender, right? So that would be enough to find those things. So let's take quickly enter function to take DOB, gender, and what phone number. Okay, so now this is a function for date of birth, function for gender, and function for phone number. Let's say DGP, and first of all I'll make some raw inputs. That's a DOB, a list. Let's say gender, a list. Let's say phone number, a list. And now let's take the date of birth first. Okay, so first we'll take the date of birth and we'll try to do that. So enter. So let's take first the month. Let's take the day first. So input enter birth date, right? And let him input anything. No, don't take input anything. Take an integer input. And give him like 12, 40, not 45, 23 and like anything. Okay. So date done. Similarly, take it as month. Let's copy this. So that should not be an integer. So input birth month. That could be like Jan or Feb, March, like that. To give him an idea. So he entered the date, he entered the sorry, this would be a month, and this will be the year. Now year can be an integer, and you don't need to give any description for that. Year can be an integer, right? So still give it. Many times people are like confused. And then you say your date of birth. Date of birth and checking if there any checking inside this. So month is, let's take any month value he give. We should also take it for the January to March. Jan, Feb, March, and this month in month in M. See it's here. And make this date of birth as str of day plus str of this month str of this year. And if it is not found in the month, you can use the dates or can you use the dates? Dates, 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 you can use the dates also. Use the dates here. So we can use dates here as, let's say, so let's say date time dot now, and this will take the present year. Okay, so this will take out the present year actually. And store how much we can take it on less than 5 or less than 6, right? Uh, can make it as X. can be percent y. So I'm taking the year now. Okay, this is my y. It should be my year. It's capital Y. So let's take it. Initialize these things. Take the input. Now, if the year would be, so it would be coming 20, right? So if the year is greater than equals to y. So if someone is saying that he is born up just in the future, so that would be a wrong one. Also, let it be there. Okay, we are not taking for the past. Let it be for the future. So if it is greater than equals to y, we'll take invalid here. That's all. And for a date of birth, then invalid here. And if it is not there, then we'll take a date of birth and done. I think month taken, year taken, and else of the day. Days greater than 31, invalid input. If it is not, then we'll go with all these things. And this valid month's name, where it would come, it would come here.
Actually, we have to validate year first, after that month, after that date, because leap year within some months will be having different dates.
Okay. So I'm taking up days greater than 31. So any year is not, any month is not having greater than 31. That can be okay if I take. So day should be always less than 31. Oh, sorry, that could also be an equals to 31. No, no, no. Greater than 31. That is fine. So day can be less than 31, and we can take an input of that. And then we can just check on the number of months. So if only the day is greater than 31, then I'll give an invalid input. If it is not greater than 31, I'll just store it. That I can do. Else month name would be given. Let's run and we'll see what comes. Invalid syntax is there in this plus. Anything else? Let's see once. Let's DGP. So enter birth date. Say 32. So invalid input. Birth date 12. Birth month. Say if I write January. So invalid, enter valid one. That's correct. So let's say December. Oh, sorry, it would be DEC, right? 8 birth year. If I write 2045, so that will be giving some errors. Not supported between the instances of integer and the string. Oh. That would be str of y. 12 DEC 2032 against error. Why is this string? Okay, let's remove this for now. So if it is greater than or equals to now, so I'll write it and invalidate. That what can I do? That can I do is, let's see. Working. So 12 BEC and write any, like let's say 1947. Done. So this is working, and you can store these things now in the end after this. So what we can do is we can write dob dot append the values of dob itself is having some values. So dob gender we haven't taken up. Okay, so this was just a program for date of birth, right? Sorry, yeah, date of birth. We can take it like that. Similarly, I'll be making that for the gender and the phone number. That you can also do, right? So your task would be